All right, in lesson three, we're going to talk about the addiction that comes with smoking or using tobacco products. We spent enough time talking about the negative consequences for somebody who uses tobacco and how sick they can get, and certainly people die. But the question remains, why do people continue to use this stuff when most people nowadays realize that there's a true risk to their health to continue smoking or chewing or whatever it is? And we know that's because they get addicted. And let's dive into that a little bit. Tobacco's web of addiction is strong. Nicotine is an extremely powerful and addictive drug. For somebody to wake up in the morning and need a cigarette, or to not be able to go 10 minutes, a half an hour throughout the day without having their nicotine fix, we can see how strong and powerful this drug truly is. It's just as addictive as heroin or cocaine, which are two incredibly strong and powerful street drugs that are incredibly dangerous as well. Some of the side effects that they have are much worse than nicotine, but the addiction qualities are very, very similar. Nicotine is what we call a stimulant. It's a chemical that speeds up the actions of the central nervous system and kind of gives you a burst of energy, makes you feel a little bit more alert, awake. Certainly, it's the same stuff, very similar to caffeine, which we see in pop or coffee. And most students in this school have experienced what a caffeine rush might be like, or just having that more level of awakeness, alertness from drinking caffeine. I know me personally, if I have caffeine past 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm going to be up till midnight trying to fall asleep because I just don't drink it enough, and it's got such a strong effect on me hours and hours later. And as that stimulant wears off, it leaves the user wanting more. I'm sure a lot of you know people who, need coffee or pop to get them through the day. So when the coffee or pop wears off, what do? They have another cup of coffee. They crack open another pop, and now they're in this vicious cycle. They kind of got themselves to be addicted where they can't get through a day without it. We use this word dependence kind of synonymous or along with addiction. Your body gets dependent on having the chemical, in this case nicotine, that's found in tobacco products. As the body gets used to nicotine, it develops a tolerance for the drug. Tolerance is a process in which the body needs more and more of a drug to get the same effect. Let's just use the caffeine here, for example. I'm tired, I wake up, I want to be able to get through a long day, so I have a cup of coffee or that can of pop. All right, and then maybe that gets me through a couple hours. A couple hours later, I'd have a little bit more. Well, if I start doing this every day, every week, for extended period of time, my body's going to get used to it. And when my body gets so used to it, now it's not a couple hours it gets me through, maybe now it's an hour. And so an hour later, I need another can of pop or a cup of coffee. I do that for an extended period of time. Now it's maybe every half hour. So you can see for someone who's smoking and getting a stimulant effect from the cigarette, might be able to get by with a few cigarettes throughout the day. And then later on, when they start dragging a little bit, getting tired and wanting that pick me up, they start increasing the number of cigarettes that they have. When the body craves more of the drug, it's a sign of physical dependence. When your body's saying, you know what, we're tired, we need more. And there's two types of dependence that happen here. The first one's a physical dependence. Anytime you hear the word physical, we're talking about somebody's body, all right? Especially related to health. It's a type of addiction in which the body itself feels a direct need for the drug. Those of you who've been around smokers or heavy caffeine users, what's that person like when they don't get their cigarette? They don't get their coffee, energy drink, or pop. You start to see they might be shaking a little bit. They're a little bit more on edge, a little bit more nervous. Their body's basically telling them, we need the drug. Where is it? You need to put the drug back into the body. Go have a cigarette. Go have another cup of coffee. Addiction to a drug affects the mind as well, and we call that a physiological dependence, an addiction in which the mind sends the body a message that it needs more of a drug. This is probably the more common signs that we see in somebody who's addicted, especially to cigarettes. Think about what's a person like who hasn't had their cigarette. The common words that I always get are cranky, irritable, moody, mad, mean, tired, those type of things. When we know that's not truly how that person is all the time, But when they're without their cigarette, they get on edge. They're just not fun to be around. And there are going to be certain events and situations and habits that trigger desire to use tobacco. Where do a lot of people smoke if they don't smoke in the house? I'm not just talking outside. Certainly, we know people will step out, but maybe there's one place every day that they know they can have a cigarette or two. And a real common one is their car, driving to work, driving to school, whatever it might be. So every time they get in a car, they light up a cigarette. So every time they get in anybody else's car, their mind immediately thinks, gosh, it'd be great to have a cigarette. It's just a habit and a situation that they are in so often that their body is trained to it. Studies show that 90% of adults started smoking before the age of 18. What's so alarming about that stat? Think about that for a second. We're saying most adults started before the age of 18. The thing that comes to my mind is that we're talking almost everybody started before they were legally able to start purchasing tobacco products. Think about your do you wish activity. You interviewed a smoker. What age did that person start smoking at? And I would bet the majority of you will find that they started before the age of 18. So, we know it's bad. We know addiction is strong. So how do we break that habit? It's never too late to quit. All right? Even somebody who's been smoking for 20, 30, 40 years, immediately, and I'm talking within hours, your body starts to see benefits of quitting smoking. All right, even somebody who smokes every day, every time they, in between every cigarette, even if it's a few minutes, a few hours, your body gets a relief. Your body starts to repair itself. The problem is when we keep putting cigarettes and tar and smoke into our lungs, it doesn't have an extended period of time to repair and get that junk out. Here's some steps to help someone stop. Number one, you got to prepare to stop. Most people can't just wake up and go, yeah, I'm not going to smoke today. Like most people have to pick a day, say, hey, I'm going to smoke through this weekend, but starting Monday, I'm done. And it gives them a day on the calendar to stick to and be proud of. Get support and encouragement. Tell your friends that you're stopping smoking. They're going to support you. Most people, understand that it's a tough habit to break or think that it's great that you're quitting. And they're going to be right behind you 100%. Find out about health services. There's some great clinics and resources and websites out there that have information on tips to quit, how to struggle with a bad day, how to beat those cravings, and maybe turn your life into healthy habits instead of just looking for ways to smoke and things like that. Change your daily routine. If you are someone who smokes in the car every day, maybe you get a ride to work. Maybe you ride your bike. Maybe you take the bus. Do something where that temptation that was always there is no longer an option for you. And follow a health lifestyle. There are a lot of people who pick up running because they never could run for extended periods of time before. So now they're helping their bodies because they're active, but they're no longer hurting their lungs and their ability to breathe because they're of the smoke and tar. Inevitably, somebody who quits using a product that they're heavily addicted to is going to experience something called withdrawal. All right, withdrawal is basically your body craving the chemical. Some people will quit cold turkey. All right, cold turkey basically means they're going to stop smoking, Monday or today or whatever it might be, but they're not going to gradually quit smoking. If I smoke a pack a day and that's 20 cigarettes, I might say, all right, next week I'm only smoking 10 cigarettes a day. The week after that, 5. And I gradually step down. Cold turkey, boom, I'm done. All right, and that's tough. That's really tough. They're going to experience withdrawal. Withdrawal is a physical and physiological reactions that occur when someone stops using an addictive substance. I talked about that moodiness, that crabbiness, some of those things that go along with not having your cigarette. Some other physical symptoms include headaches, tiredness, increased hunger, and a jittery, restless feeling. This is probably going to last for a few days. Some people it's more, some people it's less. It's basically your body going, hey, we're used to having this. Again, where is it? Why aren't you giving us a cigarette? We don't like it. We've become accustomed to it. We work better with it. And it's going to be an overall kind of sick feeling. Some of the heavier drugs that we're going to talk about, the withdrawal can be really, really bad. Some people can actually die from it. There'll be people who roll around and are sick in bed, cold sweats, fever, nausea, vomiting, just can't sleep, and it's very unpleasant. A little bit more mild with tobacco, but certainly does happen. The problem then that happens is when people start feeling sick or feeling these withdrawal symptoms, they know that the solution to make themselves feel better is to have more of the drug, have another cigarette, get that nicotine back into your system, and then they never truly are able to quit. Again, that's that basically chain of addiction that happens. Now, there are some nicotine replacement therapies out there that help somebody quit. You've heard of a few of these, and there's more and more coming out that help people through the process. They're products that assist a person in breaking a tobacco habit. The two biggest ones that we've heard of for years are the nicotine gum and nicotine patch. Nicotine gum is not necessarily a gum that you're going to chomp on like Trident or Bubblicious or something like that. It's a piece of gum with nicotine in it, a smaller dose than a cigarette, and you chew it, and then you tuck it between your cheek and gum and absorb the nicotine into your cheek and gum. It's it's a cleaner way of getting the nicotine into your system without having to smoke. Nicotine in itself in that way isn't so bad, but still can lead to smoking and whatnot. The patch, which I'll show you a commercial here in a moment, is what we call you put on your skin below, under your shirt or something like that, and it's called a transdermal medicine, meaning it passes through your skin and your body absorbs the nicotine that way over the course of 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever the patch might be. And we're trying to avoid a relapse, which is a return to the use of a drug after attempting to stop. Now, there is another product that is out there that people are using to help themselves quit, and some people are successful with it, and they're e-cigarettes, becoming a really big deal out there. And these were introduced to the US from China in 2007. This isn't in your notes, this isn't anything you have to write down, but these have really exploded on the market in the last 3, 4, 5 years. The number of teens using these products doubled between 2011 and 2012, and that's only just a couple years ago. They do contain liquid nicotine, and nicotine we know can be addictive. Small amounts of liquid nicotine can be lethal. So when people don't always know what they're putting in the e-cigarette or how much they're putting in or what they're buying, that can be incredibly dangerous because this stuff is very, very strong. Here's some of the main dangers of e-cigarettes. And, again, people who use them as a replacement for smoking, who are adults, who have had a problem with cigarettes, yeah, there's probably some benefit to it. Poison control centers have seen a drastic increase in calls regarding e-cigarettes from 2010 to 2014. Again, people not using them the correct way, not putting the right stuff in them, probably a lot of younger kids and teenagers, especially your age, who get a hold of mom or dad's, older brothers or sisters, and again use it in a way not intended. They may contain toxic levels of chemicals that are not disclosed on the labels. These companies can kind of put whatever they want in them because they're the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, that are government, checks products and foods and things like that, doesn't regulate e-cigarettes. All right, so e-cigarettes can kind of do what they want. Many public places are now banning their use. At first they were a great alternative because you didn't see people smoking, but now places are saying we don't want those either because they're still a distraction. They still can affect other people. Target Field, where the Twins play, they used to allow them. Now they've banned them. Secondhand nicotine exposure is still possible. I can blow the vapor that comes out of an e-cigarette near somebody, and they can breathe that in and get some of the stimulant effects of the nicotine. And e-cigarette users experience diminished lung function, air resistance, and cellular changes. There's just going to be some issues and problems that come along with it. Here's a couple pictures of the nicotine patch and the nicotine gum, either brands like Nicorette. Again, helping a person quit smoking. The e-cigarette might be people who are used by people who still smoke and like to smoke, but it just maybe can't everywhere they want to. Chances are the nicotine patch and gum are truly used by people who want to quit or just don't like that habit anymore. This is a short Nicoderm CQ commercial. Nicoderm makes the nicotine patches and kind of shows you how they work. There's a step-down process where you take ones of higher doses and then lower doses and eventually don't need them at all.
Letting go of your cigarettes can be hard, but the Nicoderm CQ patch gradually steps you down off of nicotine in just 3 steps, doubling your chances for success. Nicoderm CQ, 3 steps, 10 weeks, and you're free.
So, it takes some time. The step 1 would likely be, maybe half the amount of nicotine as a cigarette. Maybe step 2 is a quarter of the amount, and then step 3 might be like about 10%. Eventually, we just get a little bit so you don't go through the withdrawal, and you are able to get the eventually stop smoking. This is a little news clip on the e-cigarette. This is a couple years old, so it's new at the time, but it talks about the kind of popularity and the dangers of e-cigarettes that are coming out in the market.
Like smoking bans are spreading, and so is the demand to stop smoking. For some, a new product might be the answer. Or is it? Channel 8 medical reporter Janet St. James takes a closer look.
This isn't what it looks like. That wispy plume is really a harmless vapor, and the cigarette is fake.
With this device, you can actually enjoy smoking without the bad parts of the cigarette. There is no tar, there is no tobacco, no bad chemicals that can cost you for cancer.
Ohad Naeem is franchise operator of Smoking Everywhere, a battery-operated electronic cigarette getting a lot of attention at Grapevine Mills Mall and on the internet. It's been available for years in Europe.
Fact: Smoking Everywhere electronic cigarette is the healthier way to smoke.
The e-cigarette is marketed as a safer way to smoke or even quit smoking.
No one can tell you no anymore. Due to having no tobacco or open flame, the smoking...
Because it isn't real, it enables smoking everywhere, getting around public smoking bans. The device gives a jolt of nicotine with every drag, satisfying the addiction, or perhaps creating one.
Looks like a cigarette.
We showed this provocative product to Presbyterian Dallas pulmonologist Gary Weinstein, who treats smokers. He gave us a surprising response.
Nicotine is very similar to caffeine. It's a stimulant. It's very addicting, like caffeine. But nicotine by itself is not a terrible thing.
In fact, nicotine gum and patches have been used for years to help kick the habit. But this product is different in that it gives an authentic feel of smoking without exposing anyone else to secondhand smoke.
This one is actually an apple.
That's right, the e-cigarette comes in several fun flavors, including cherry, chocolate, and mint. And that's where Dr. Weinstein says this product can be potentially dangerous.
Flavors like that is not for smokers. That's for people who want to play with it and for kids.
Dr. Weinstein points out the cool design, slick marketing, and addictive nicotine filters could easily get a young person to try it and then get hooked. And you don't think that the flavors are appealing to teenagers?
No, we don't sell it for people under the age of 18, so they cannot use it.
Teenagers we spoke with say the $150 price tag is a bit steep, but Ernest Oviedo, who started smoking as a teen, bought one.
I want to quit smoking. I like smoking, but I know it's bad, so I just want to give it a try.
But addiction experts caution anyone not currently addicted to nicotine shouldn't. Janet St. James, Channel 8 News.
They say that you shouldn't use it. Anytime nicotine's involved, we run the risk of getting addicted and being in that cycle where we need the stuff all the time.